On this paddling trip, I'm paddling the Savannah River through Savannah, Georgia. Not only is Savannah the third busiest shipping port in the United States, it's also one of the oldest cities in the United States. It has a rich history, and I'm gonna use the river to learn all about it. Hope you guys can join.
In southeastern Georgia lies the coastal city of Savannah. Chartered by Europeans in the 1730s, its influence as a coastal shipping center is still felt to this day. Its rich history is preserved in large part due to its role in the American Civil War, and its surviving folklore is as terrifying as it is fascinating. I've got a few days here, but my main goal is to canoe the Savannah River, the lifeline that gave birth to this city and still keeps it thriving today. I'm starting early in the morning, while the tide is still returning to low, and I've got to get through this busy shipping port.
I'm putting it up here at Port Wentworth. This is the port of Savannah. There's two things I've actually got going for me right now. Not only do I have the tide working with me, as in it is going to low tide right now, but also the river already has a nice little current to it.
I've got a little over 10 miles that I want to get under my belt this morning, and I'm looking to do those miles quickly. Even though I'm far enough inland where the tides won't have a massive effect on the current, I want to be sure that I'm using this outgoing tide to my advantage. And right now, it's really working in my favor.
It's a good day to be out on the water right now. It's a very brisk, very cool morning, and it looks like we got some tugboats coming in. It could get a little dicey.
Not even a mile in, I see my first big boat, and I want to be sure I stay well clear of it. The current, though, helps me move right on past it.
Looking pretty good right now. I was looking at the ship behind me. I was just assuming, oh yeah, the ship is coming towards me. Actually, no. I'm just going that fast, that's very good news. I'm very happy about that, because it's hard to know what a coastal river, how a coastal river is going to behave. But so far so good.
I can see the main port by the massive cranes that tower above the river. As I round the corner, I see the reason why those cranes are necessary. There are some big ships, and there's a lot of them. The river is pretty narrow here, so there's nowhere to go but right beside these ships.
It is incredible, and you do feel like such a freaking ant out here. There's no way to get around it.
And if I'm an ant, I'm gonna treat this ship like the boot that would squash me.
He's already starting to move. I'm gonna get out of his way.
I dash to the other side of the river to give everyone some space. Now, I'm much more comfortable.
You can see over here the high tide mark. That's at least 3 feet. I'm gonna try to make some progress before the water starts rising again. And the Port of Savannah is the third busiest port in the entire country. It ranks only behind, I believe, like Los Angeles and New York, as far as the amount of traffic that comes in here. And as you can see, each one of these containers contains God knows how many goods and products.
The busiest port in the U.S. is Los Angeles, and it's a bastion of Pacific trade. Now, there are technically two ports here, the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach. They're technically separate because they're owned by different companies, but for the purposes of this, I'm counting them as one. The second busiest port is the Port of New York and New Jersey. With trade coming from the Atlantic Ocean, the U.S.'s largest city supplies much of the East Coast with goods. And coming in at number 3, or 4 if you're technical about it, is the Port of Savannah. And that's where I am right now. I take notice of the river's juxtaposition as well. On river left, I see tall grass, sand, and mud. Turning my camera here would make it seem like I'm on a coastal island. On river right, however, is that massive port. Reminding myself how far inland this port is, how far upriver it is, I remember that it's not just about the water that makes this port so busy. It's what's on land that counts too. And with the port being on river right, or the east side of the river, it has a unique advantage.
The Port of Savannah is like strategically located on Interstate 16 and Interstate 95, which is the main artery down the East Coast. It's incredibly beneficial to have your shipping port so far inland that you can just get it right onto 95. They also have their own intermodal railway system, so they can load it directly onto trains and ship it pretty much anywhere you want in the country from there. Not only am I getting out here and making good progress with the water, but there is a breeze, and it's, I don't know, 9-10 miles an hour. And it is pressing at the back of my head, so it's actually propelling me and the boat forward. This is when canoeing is its most fun. I'm actually going to go ahead and cut across the channel.
It becomes clear when I cut back across that I may be out of the shipping docks, but now I've come across massive factories and industrial centers. I also waited like 17 minutes for this guy to drop that load of lumber.
Looks like there's a barge up here. I have to see what I can do to get around him.
This section of river is narrow as it is, and there are multiple obstacles strung out across the center of the river. Navigating around this is going to be a little dicey.
Sounds good. I got to figure out a way to get in between these two barges right here.
And the thunderous drone of everything going on around me makes it even more concerning. Essentially saying, turn the music down, I need to see better, it's a real thing. I believe this is a dredge. This boat is churning up the river bottom, and they could be doing that for a multitude of reasons. You could be looking for minerals, but more likely, I'd say it's probably maintaining the depth of the river here so ships don't bottom out when they're making deliveries. I, of course, am under no such risk.
As far as taking a self-propelled watercraft, as far as taking a canoe out into the middle of a shipping port, there's a certain level of, I don't know if I should be here right now. We're gonna continue on though.
I press on downriver, and slowly but surely, the drone of the mills, the factories, and the dredges begin to fade. There's one last set of cranes to pass, but before that, I come across a yacht with some British fellas on it.
How you doing? Pretty good. How are y'all? Good, good. All right, you're doing that great, eh? All right, okay.
Welcome to the South, mates. From down at the water level and being this close, I struggle to capture the sheer size of this ship. What I will say is that the camera definitely does not even come close to capturing just how massive these things are.
Where I do feel like those Somali pirates that took over Maersk, Alabama, I would not blame them if they thought I was.
And to be honest, LARPing as a pirate is tiring work.
I was thinking about it. This boat is a little heavy. I might need a lift to help me portage around this stuff. I'll put up my paddle, you pick up the paddle, and then I'll squeeze the boat with my legs, and then we'll go. Very simple.
Just past this, I see a bridge, and on the other side of that bridge is the city of Savannah proper.
So here's where we get out of the port and into the city. This is gonna be fun.
It's gonna be the most fun if you like fighting headwinds.
Just try to keep the rotation right.
Once under the bridge, though, the wind mellows out, and I see another recreational boat. I'm finally back where I'm not a major inconvenience. I can't let my guard down fully, though, as commercial boating becomes passenger boating.
In the urban city center, there could be cargo ships, always a possibility for that, but there's also going to be ferries transporting people across the river, and I want to steer clear of them. I've been beeped at by some ferries before. It's a little embarrassing. You can just look at the skyline, you see the architecture of this place, and you know this place has got some history.
And that history as we know it today begins in 1733, when General James Oglethorpe and a posse of about 130 persons sail across the Atlantic and eventually set up shop on the southern banks of the Savannah River. James Oglethorpe was, by 1732 standards, a forward-thinking visionary when it came to debt and opportunity.
His idea is that you can come to the New World and you can work.
But married to his idealism was the English government's pragmatism, and we see that in the Charter of Georgia. Many of our poor subjects are not able to provide a maintenance for themselves and their families, and would be glad to gain a comfortable subsistence for themselves and families. It also stresses that there's an economic motive to strengthen our colonies and increase the trade, navigation, and wealth of these our realms. And finally, and perhaps most interestingly, our provinces in North America have been frequently ravaged by Indian enemies, more especially that of South Carolina, which was laid waste with fire and sword, and great numbers of English inhabitants miserably massacred by reason of the smallness of their numbers. The British sought to protect their already flourishing port city of Charleston with this new Georgia colony at Savannah. It would be a buffer zone against the Spanish and their First Nation allies. So it seemed like it was time for Oglethorpe to make some allies of his own. As soon as he lands in Savannah, he meets with local Indian chief Tomochachi, and boy oh boy, do their groups have a party. And I have to read you this first-hand journal entry from a guy named Peter Gordon. One of the oldest of our people, Dr. Lyons, got a little in drink, found his way up to the Indian town, and joined with the Indians in their dance, which I, being informed of, sent for him, and desired that he would immediately repair home to our camp. Otherwise, I assured him I would acquaint Mr. Oglethorpe with his folly. But being so much in liquor, he returned again to the Indians, and danced with them as before, which being told to me, I ordered several white men who were there to carry him home by force. Oh, what a great time that must have been. By all the evidence so far, it seems Oglethorpe held no prejudice on the status of wealth or race.
He was actually formerly against the institution of slavery, but Savannah absolutely had slaves. And the reason that a lot of this history is preserved, unlike a lot of the American South, is also kind of has to do with slavery a little bit. There's this thing we did called the American Civil War. Towards the end of that war, there's a particular general named Sherman and his famous March to the Sea.
In the fall of 1864, in the waning days of the American Civil War, Union General William T. Sherman and his armies captured the Confederate stronghold of Atlanta. Sherman and his cadre believe that a scorched earth, shock and awe campaign in the South will cripple the Confederate war machine and ultimately the morale of the Southern civilians. He writes, "Until we can repopulate Georgia, it is useless to occupy it, but the utter destruction of its roads, houses, and people will cripple their military resources. I can make the march and make Georgia howl." William T. Sherman to Ulysses S. Grant, October 1864.
During his march to the sea, he wants to capture Savannah, which is a massive port city. Every city they come into, every city they ransack, they burn to the freaking ground. Now, Savannah, on the other hand, and part of the reason that so much of the history is preserved is that Sherman shows up and he's like, hey, you guys know what's going on here, right?
By just December, Sherman reaches the city of Savannah, and defending the city is Confederate General William Hardee and his Confederate garrison. Sherman demands Hardee's surrender, and it reads as follows. "I am prepared to grant liberal terms to the inhabitants and the garrison, but should I be forced to resort to assault or the slower and surer process of starvation, I shall make little effort to restrain my army, burning to avenge the national wrong which they attach to Savannah and other large cities which have been so prominent in dragging our country into civil war."
And of course, the authorities knew, the townspeople knew. They had heard wind of just a massive army just completely burning massive cities.
4 days later, Hardee and his army abandoned the city and crossed the Savannah River on a makeshift pontoon bridge.
The city administrators developed this peace negotiation, and he does not burn Savannah to the ground. And they end up actually housing Sherman's army in the local cemetery.
That little detail at the end is crucial, and it's quintessentially Savannah. The winter of 1864 to 1865 apparently was bitterly cold, and reports began to stir that Union soldiers were desecrating graves in order to huddle inside with the dead, all just to stay warm. Keep in mind that these reports are mainly coming from the citizens of Savannah who are actively housing a hostile army in their city, so I'm certain they were embellishing to an extent. But either way, that's still pretty gnarly. And it's just one account of Savannah's macabre folklore.
There are also a plethora of ghost stories, folk tales, urban legends. Some 10,000 people are buried just within a little small block in their cemetery. But it's estimated that 20 to 40,000 people were buried here, and 20 to 40,000 graves are actually buried beneath this small city center. So, if there was a place for that kind of stuff to go on, it would be here. So now, my favorite ghost story that comes from the city is the story of Mrs. Alice Riley. We know that Savannah was founded in 1733. That same year, there's 38 Irish immigrants that come along with the English to settle Savannah. Among those 38 Irish settlers is Alice Riley and Richard White. Now, Richard White and Alice Riley are both indentured servants to a very cruel master named William Wise. One day in 1734, William Wise, the master, is found dead. Richard White and Alice Riley are blamed for the murder. Now, they execute Richard White immediately. But because Richard White and Alice Riley were lovers, she's pregnant. They stay her execution, essentially, in order for her to give birth. As soon as the baby's born, they rip it from Alice, and they immediately send her to the gallows. So as she's up on the gallows and the guy's asking her, do you have any last words? Well, Alice starts speaking in Gaelic, and everyone's basically thinking, oh my god, she's gonna put a hex on the town. She was suspected of being a witch to begin with because she had murdered this guy. And when she starts speaking in this foreign language that no one really knows and she's just kind of muttering to herself, they're like, oh my god. I don't know why that's my favorite story. It's awful. I don't know, I think it's just the fact that she theoretically gets the last laugh in some strange, macabre way. I don't know. Out beyond me is an interconnected web of coastal rivers, coastal marshes, alligators, manatees, an absolutely beautiful country, and one that if I had time I would love to canoe at some point. So I'll definitely be back to canoe further past the city into the marsh. So that's where our journey is going to end. I want to thank you so much for watching. This has been an incredible, quick journey. It only took me, honestly, about 2 or 3 hours to complete. Savannah's a wonderful city. I hope you enjoyed learning about it as much as I did, and I hope you enjoyed coming along and paddling with me. Everyone, please take care. God bless. Really important. My hat. I can eat my hat. Oh man. Oh man. Come here. Come on. This doesn't sink.